live, uncut, unedited. Tell the truth and shame the devil. I love being black. All right, people, as I promised, I am late. No fault of the counselor here, attorney. No fault of his. It's my fault. It was miscommunication and my technical problems I had. So we here and we're going to bring some good information. But just before we get started, I need you guys to come in, share the video, share the video. Now, if this doesn't apply, let it fly. But it's great information. We all need that, especially those of you that have been arrested and trying to get your criminal record expunged or sealed or vacated, if I may use the legal term. So come on in. I got a special guest today, and he's here. He's going to tell us. I want to say your name again, so I'm going to have the correct pronunciation of your name.
Yeah, it's Ahmed Abbas.
Okay, Ahmed. All right, Abbas. I want to make sure I say the name because that's very important. So we're going to open up the phone lines too as well if you need to call. So I'm open for that. We're open for that. We're probably going to be 30 to 45 minutes. So make sure you can call your nephew, your niece, your uncle, whoever you need to call to listen in. Listen in. And we're going to explain it. And we're going to explain it. So we're going to get started. And before we get started, I need you to introduce yourselves and tell us exactly what you do, who you work for, and all the good things.
Well, first off, I just want to say thanks, Martin, for having me on. You know, this is my live radio debut, so very excited for that.
Okay.
But yes, my name is Ahmed Abbas. I'm one of the attorneys at the Teamwork Englewood Legal Clinic. At the clinic, we assist people with backgrounds and trying to help them get their record expunged and sealed. So I hope we can, talk about some updates in the law, some specific information that may apply to some of your listeners. And if it may not apply to them, it could apply to somebody they know.
Perfect. Also, I appreciate you coming on in tonight to explain some things. So I don't want you to get frustrated with because the social media, people come in, they come out, they leave, what's going on, come in. So we stream it on Facebook Live, X, and also we're streaming on YouTube as well. So, and this information that is given out today, just get a notebook, a pen, a piece of paper, call in, ask questions. I'm learning. I don't know everything. That's why I put the thumbnail up there so you'll know exactly what we're talking about. So if you have any questions, I promise you. Matter of fact, let me put the number up. And so you guys call in, and we're going to turn it over so he can start explaining how to get it expunged. So if you want to ask a question inside of the chat, that's as well. We'll be taking some questions from the chat. So again, we got the call-in numbers. I'm putting it on the screen so you won't be no problems. Say, Martin, what's the number? The number is right there on the screen. All right, my brother, come and talk to us now.
So I think what we came here to talk about specifically is felony class 4 convictions of prostitution. Okay, so that's a kind of specific prostitution charge that people have been convicted of. Again, that's a felony class 4, so it's a specific type of charge. It's different from, let's say, if you had a prostitution charge that was a misdemeanor, right? We're just talking about felony class 4. In 2021, the legislator in Illinois found that a felony class 4 conviction for prostitution was simply too punitive. The punishment was far too much for that kind of charge. And so they updated the law to allow those people who were convicted of a felony class 4 charge of prostitution to have that conviction vacated. Now, what do we mean when we say vacated? Vacated is when a go ahead.
I had a question. Could you explain to the listening audience what is a class 4 and how do you get charged with a class 4? Because I don't know. I'm just
right.
So go ahead.
So first off, it's a felony, right? And a felony is a offense, a criminal offense that can result in a year or more of jail time. A class 4 felony is one of the less serious felonies, which means the jail time that you spend is less than it would be if you were convicted of a, let's say, class 3 felony, class 2 felony, class 1 felony. One class 1 felony would be the most severe. You'd be spending, or technically class X felony is the most severe, meaning you're going to spend the most amount of jail if convicted. Then class 1 is the second most severe, class 2 the third, class 3 the fourth, and then class fourth the fifth. So it's one of the most least severe felony convictions in terms of jail time you can get. And usually they pick those cases up with prostitution because there's some circumstance that's going on in the facts of the prostitution case that makes it a little bit more serious than your usual prostitution charge. Now, I don't know exactly what that is, but anybody who's had to deal with those felony prostitution charges would know the facts behind why they got charged with a felony class 4 instead of like a misdemeanor class A, which is a lesser charge. But the felony class 4 is what we're talking about because the legislator thought that was a bit too serious. It's a structural injustice to charge somebody with something that severe for prostitution. So so it's basically a more severe prostitution charge based on the facts that occurred in the underlying case. And so if somebody was convicted, the important thing is knowing if you were convicted of that or not. If you were convicted of that class 4 felony, that will usually be displayed on your criminal rap sheets, on someone's criminal rap sheets. And again, if they have any questions, they can always contact Teamwork Englewood to talk a little bit more about it to see what exactly they were charged with. But again, it's a type of charge, really. It talks about mostly about severity of the charge, if that makes sense. So if somebody was convicted of that, they have a certain path to deal with that in a bit of a unique way. And I can talk a little bit about, the circumstances somebody might be in to where this information might apply. So let's take, for example, you're somebody who went through the expungement and sealing process before. You had a felony class 4 prostitution conviction, and you were able to get that sealed. Now, let me explain a little bit about the difference between an expungement and a sealing. Expungement is basically a remedy that you can ask the court to grant you, and the effect of the expungement is that it completely destroys the record. The record cannot be viewed by anybody, not even law enforcement. Now, a expungement can only apply to cases that were dismissed, meaning you beat the charges, were found not guilty, state dropped the charges. Any of those cases would be eligible for expungement, the strongest legal remedy in criminal record relief. The second legal remedy that somebody has at their disposal is called sealing. Now, sealing is for convictions, found guilty, pled guilty. A seal is different from an expungement. It doesn't completely destroy the record, but it hides it. Law enforcement may still have access, will still have access to that record. And some employers may have access to that record. Employers that do fingerprinting possibly could have access to that record. And so if you can get an expungement that completely destroys the record, you want to get it. And you can get an expungement for felony class 4 prostitution convictions. So let's say you went through the expungement process, you got it sealed because you were convicted of this prostitution charge. Well, now you have the ability to get that expunged so that nobody can see it for all of time. And the process for doing that is a bit of a multi-step process. You would first want to get the conviction vacated, and that's a legal process where you go in front of the judge. You talk about the fact that the legislator has made this particular conviction available to be vacated, and you go through that process, and then that court will vacate it. They'll throw it out. They'll throw the conviction out, so you're no longer technically convicted of the offense anymore. Then once it's vacated, then the charge would be eligible for expungement. So you could file a petition for expungement and it should be granted. And the final effect then would be that the record of this prostitution charge would be destroyed and it wouldn't be viewed for anybody. And so it's just important because if you did have this sealed, you do have a stronger legal remedy available to you. And then if that's something that you would like to take advantage of, you could contact people, a legal aid agency. You could seek out your legal options if that's something that any of your listeners or anybody they know are interested in doing.
I have a question for you. Now, outside of the stigma of being arrested or charged with prostitution, what can it stop you from doing? Maybe getting a job or apartment or something? It looks bad. What do you know?
So I think if you have a background of any sort that is visible to law enforcement or visible to employers, it can be a reason for you having trouble, let's say, getting a job. I mean, again, if you have a prostitution charge that was sealed, not every employer can see it, right? Only specific employers can see it, and specific government agencies. Now, I don't have the full list of them.
Okay.
I don't think any attorney really does. I think some of the rules that people go by is that if you can get fingerprinted for like a job or something that you're seeking out with a government agency, if they require a fingerprint, they may be able to use that to track the fact that you have a charge that was sealed. And so there is a technical pathway to viewing it. And so you may not know, it could be a situation that you didn't expect them to be able to see a sealed record, but all of a sudden they can see it. And so, again, it can be something that can be visible to either government agencies or employers that you may think initially they can't see it because I got it sealed, but then they ended up seeing it. Again, it's in my clients' experiences, they don't really see a practical difference between getting something sealed versus getting something expunged. They just kind of go about their lives because a seal is still a powerful legal remedy. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing is if you haven't gotten it sealed or expunged, then it's open to the public, right?
Right.
And I think that, again, in my clients' experiences, you have really any charge of any sort that can be viewed by an employer or a landlord, you're going to have some serious difficulties finding employment or finding well-paying employment that you're qualified for, that you can do, but you can't get because you got a record, and you're going to have trouble finding housing. Now, landlords are not supposed to discriminate against anybody. By law, they can't discriminate against people who have records. There are certain things, if somebody's on the sex offender registry, it's a little different. But for the majority of offenses, a landlord cannot discriminate against you. But in the real world, it happens. And so I think it's important to know that if you're experiencing some of these difficulties, record relief can be a way to sort of relieve yourself of it. And with the prostitution charges that we're talking about today, what we're really focused on is making sure that people who are eligible for the strongest type of relief know that and that they can seek it. Even if they got another kind of relief like sealing, if you're eligible for expungement, it's a stronger kind of relief. You should at least know that that's available to you. And if that's something that somebody wants to pursue, totally up to them. But it's important for them to know that they have the legal rights in this case to get those strong remedies.
Oh, I have a quick one more question. I'm quite sure I'm gonna have some more. Now, I heard you say that the landlords and the employers won't be able to see what's on the record, but if they hire a third party, a second party, such as a security firm or a law firm or but it's something that can pull it and give it to them, then they can know it's there. Though, is that?
So,
Go ahead.
so
How
yeah,
that?
yeah. So if the record has not been either sealed or expunged, anybody can view it.
Okay.
Right. If you haven't gone through the criminal record process of trying to get it either sealed or expunged, it's open to the general public. If you got it sealed, then even if an employer tries to hire a third party to access the record, they still probably won't have access to it. A sealed record can
Okay.
only be viewed by certain parties. Now, if that employer is the type of employer that is allowed to see a sealed record by law, then they'll be able to access it. They won't have to go to a third party. But again, it's not all employers that can see it.
Okay.
Landlords shouldn't be able to see it regardless. A sealed record should not be viewed by a landlord. Only in very certain types of offenses would it be able to be seen. Now, if you get it expunged, which is what you can do if you were charged with a charged with a class 4 prostitution charge. If you got it expunged, the record is completely destroyed. Nobody can dig it up. Not even a third party that thinks they can specialize in it, they can't dig it up because it's been destroyed. There's no record of it that exists anywhere. So those are kind of the two options that people have when they want to try to get something destroyed or hidden from their record. But again, if somebody hasn't done any of those two processes, then it's open to the general public. You and I can see it, employers can see it, landlords can see it, universities can see it. It's a long list of people that can see it if it's completely open to the public.
Perfect. Because I know now this law that we're talking about only applies to Illinois, right?
Correct.
Okay, we just want to get that clear because we do
Right.
have listeners in other states.
Right.
So,
I should be clear that the
yeah.
expungement and sealing process is determined by state. And so, since the lawyers at Teamwork are only licensed in Illinois, we could only help you out with Illinois cases. If you do want to get assistance in other states, again, I don't know any of the legal aid agencies outside of
Mm.
Illinois, but you could do Google searches to see if there are agencies that can help you out and have at least an initial phone call for you.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So I'm gonna scroll down to see if I see any questions. The phone lines are open. People 872-299-0808 or 872-297-6389. You're welcome to call in. We're gonna scroll through the messages, see if I see anything. All right. Let's see who's okay. Let's see. Somebody said it's a good topic. All right. We appreciate you calling. Because, all right, before, let me just say this. Before we had got started, I did ask you, now, who is this for? Is it for the one that bought the sex or the one that's selling the sex? Let's get that clear too.
Yeah, from my understanding, it's just for the people who are selling the services. So
Okay.
it's for the sex workers themselves. I don't believe, I could be wrong, but I don't believe that people who are purchasing the services are eligible for this process.
Okay. Because I am aware of that here in the city of Chicago that they do have these things going on. So,
Right, right. So you may be out of luck if you're the patron, but if you're the one who's providing the services, this is really who we're talking to at the moment.
okay.
Right.
We just want to get the questions out there. Because, see, this is a great conversation, and we trying to be nice, use the proper language because we realize we're in the public, we're on a public platform and things like that. So can you tell us what Teamwork Teamwork Englewood is located for those that's interested?
Yeah, we're on 63rd and Halstead in the U.S. Bank building. I believe it's 615 West 63rd Street. I should know this. I've been here for like 5, 6 months, but like I keep forgetting my phone number. I have clients who call me, for the first time, and they're like, "Well, what's your phone number?" I have to open up my email and look at my address line to remember it. But no, yeah, we're on 63rd and Halstead, second floor of the U.S. Bank building, so we're pretty easy to find.
So another question. This is for the public. How much money do they need to come there and get the services?
I think that's a fantastic question. I would probably say 0.00.
Mhm.
We don't charge anything for our services here at the legal clinic. Now, Teamwork has a lot of other programs going on, but in terms of the legal clinic, we don't charge anything for our
Mhm.
services. And you know what? You get some world class lawyering. The only thing I do say is that we try to pay for everything we can for clients that are eligible to start the
Mhm.
process with us. So if a client needs a drug test, then we can help provide the money for that. If a client needs help getting their rap sheets, it's about $16 to go get your rap sheets at 35th and Michigan. We'll try to assist with that as well, and we can assist with that. A lot of the times, it just depends on how many money orders we have, or if sometimes we do what we call a rap sheet day, where we sign people up so that they can all come in at one day and get their rap sheets all at once at 35th and Michigan, where we table. But regardless, if money is an issue, just tell us and we'll figure out a way to help out the best we can. Beyond that, the only charges that really come up a little bit as more of an issue, or just like the court filing fees. The court does charge a filing fee to file a petition to the court, but the client, anybody listening may be eligible for a fee waiver, and we'll fight for that as hard as we can.
Okay. Now, I'm asking all the questions tonight. Now, it was once upon a time, prostitution was one of the things on the list that was not expungible. Is that correct?
I think actually prostitution is one of the
Right.
few sex crimes actually that has always usually been eligible. But
Okay.
in this instance, if you were convicted, for a felony class 4 prostitution charge, your only remedy was sealing it. But now you can get that conviction vacated and expunged. But if you, let's say you had a prostitution charge and you were found not guilty, right? That's going to be
Right.
expungible, because basically anything that you were found not guilty of, charges were dismissed, prosecution dropped the charges, anything you were not found guilty of would be eligible for expungement, even very serious things. And I think this is an important point, even beyond just the conversation that we're having about prostitution. I don't like it when people sort of select themselves out of this process because, well, I have a very serious crime. Well, I understand, but even serious crimes can be dealt with. Not all of them, but the majority of them can. But prostitution, as well as public indecency, um, both of those things are one of the few, I think the only two sex crimes that are eligible for the expungement and sealing process.
Okay. I learned a lot. I never heard about indecency. Okay, indecent.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't either until I started working here. I was like, okay,
Right.
oh, well,
Right.
it's there. Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to think of something else. Let's take some calls. People, come on in. 872-299-0808. You don't have to be afraid. We won't reveal your name or anything. Everything is confidential, please. It really is. 872-297-6389. We have two numbers. So if one is busy, call the other. Call in. This is information, people. Like the video. Share the video. Please, this is free information. This is free, as we say in the hood, free game. That's what it is. And actually, Teamwork Englewood, which I am a navigator, they do not charge you for these services. Right in the community. We always say, none of these organizations are not doing enough for the people. Here it is. We bringing it right to your doorstep, right into your place, into your home. Take advantage of it. Teamwork Englewood is located on 63rd and Halsted, right inside the U.S. Bank building on the second floor.
And we take walk-ins from 10:30 to 2. So if you're just interested in having a conversation in person, let's say, feel free. 10:30 to 2, Monday through Thursday. We should be back in the office on the 5th after the holiday break. Or you could call our line, 773-488-6600, and just ask for legal. You could also put in 128. That's my extension, and you can reach me directly. If you're interested about just starting the process, learning what else you can do, you can always call, and we can have that quick conversation as well. And then if anybody has any questions just about the general expungement and sealing process, you can also talk about that.
Okay, real quick, we know we have different people that came in. I just need you to explain the difference between sealing and
Sure,
expungement.
sure.
Real quick. Okay.
So yeah, let's take a step back. So
Okay.
you have two remedies that you can ask the court to grant you in order to get something either destroyed or hidden from your criminal record. The first is called expungement. Expungement is for cases that you beat, meaning you were found not guilty, charges were dismissed, the state didn't, the state dropped the charges. Any of those cases would be eligible for expungement. Now, the effect of an expungement is that it completely destroys the record. Nobody can see it. Not even law enforcement can see it. The second remedy that you have, that you can ask the court to grant you, is called sealing. Now, sealing is for convictions. You were found guilty, pled guilty. Those cases would only be eligible for sealing. Now, there are some cases that are not eligible for either sealing or expungement. Those are convictions, meaning found guilty, for crimes such as DUI, reckless driving, Most sex crimes, but not prostitution or public indecency, those are eligible. Violations of orders for protection and crimes against animals, those charges, if you were found convicted of, they would not be eligible for the
What
sealing.
about arson?
Arson, I do believe arson would be eligible for sealing. From my understanding, only those cases would be the ones that are not eligible for this process. So you can see, I mean, for example, first degree murder would be eligible for us. If you were if somebody was convicted of first degree murder, that would be eligible for this process. So it's actually a very wide amount of things that you can get either expunged or sealed. But let me just explain the effect of a sealed record. If you get something sealed, then it can still be viewed by law enforcement and the court. Um, Now, it cannot be seen by the general public. So, me and Mr. Johnson, we would not be able to see the record, right? Most employers would not be able to see the record, but some special employers can. And I know some people are asking for the number. If you may want to repeat that real quick, and I can just wrap up. And but yeah, other than that, like, some employers can see the record, but not all. And I'll just wrap up by saying this: even if you get something sealed, look, in my clients' experiences, they don't really see a practical difference between getting something expunged versus getting something sealed. And I like to say that because I know that sealing may not be the strongest remedy, expungement is, but it's still a remedy, a powerful remedy. And I always hate, not hate, but it makes me a little sad when I have a client that we got a case sealed for, and they're a little upset, they're a little sad, not realizing that they won. And so I would just encourage people to continue to live their lives after receiving those kinds of remedies, but also just seeking out what their options are. And if they feel like it's something that they want to pursue, again, entirely their choice, try to pursue it.
So only a class X, a class what, 4X, or you say?
Felony class 4, yeah,
Okay, felony class 4. Okay. That's what we're talking about. Okay.
for prostitution,
For
correct.
prostitution. Okay. I, did you guys like my thumbnail? So I love.
I
All
like
right.
it.
Yeah. Yes. It brings, so when they come in the screen, they'll know exactly what we're talking about.
Right, right.
But also, you guys at Teamwork Englewood do other expungements as well. But tonight we're just focusing on prostitution.
Yeah, anything. What we do at Teamwork, and my number is 773-488-6600, extension 128, or you can just ask for legal. Again, that's 773-488-6600, extension 128. But yeah, we do literally anything that is eligible for this process. We can put it up. We can put it up for you. It's just that this is a bit of a unique development in the law. And we just want people to know that, if you got a felony class 4 prostitution charge, maybe you got it sealed, maybe you didn't, just know that you're eligible to get that case vacated and get that expunged. And that's a powerful record. That's a powerful remedy. And it's just important that people know their rights in this situation.
Yes, because having this on your background can cause you to not get an apartment or job or something as well. Am I correct?
That's correct. I mean, the way that I see it is, oftentimes in my conversations with clients, it feels like you're talking with people for which there is no future. It feels as if you're talking to people who are living in a never-ending past or a never-ending present. And so I think one of the really powerful things about this process is that it really does give people agency back in their lives, allows them to kind of move forward with a lot of the plans that they have with the future, whether that's getting a job, going to university. Yeah, retail theft or drug cases. Yeah, retail theft and drug cases would be eligible for this process. Drug possession cases are usually the most common ones I see, I would say, and retail theft also would be eligible for this process. Now, again, it depends. The remedy, the thing that you get out of it, depends on how your case ended. If you were found guilty, then it would only be for sealing. But if you beat the case, then it would be for expungement. But I think it's more important just to say, like, look, to talk about eligibility, and then some of the more granular details can be discussed once you move a little bit further down in the process.
Now, listen up, people. This is great information. It's free information, and these lines should be flooded. I mean, I don't understand. If it was bloodshed right here, we have hundreds and hundreds of people on here giving away free information that can help you. So those that are not here, I won't say don't worry. Make sure you forward this video to them or to her, whoever it may be that need this. Because Teamwork Englewood, they are working hard for the community and they are 501c. Also, I am a navigator with the company Teamwork Englewood. And as you see tonight, I'm doing the podcast. So feel free to call in. Feel free to call the office and ask for legal. Feel free to get your necessary questions. I know this is a very sensitive subject. No one want to let anyone know that they've been convicted of prostitution. I understand. We're not here to bust out nobody, to make no one feel bad for whatever happened in the past, but we're just trying to help you clean your criminal record up. I think there's any other questions, and we probably got a few more minutes. We'll leave it open for someone to call in any questions, because I think I asked all the questions tonight. And any questions tonight from the panel?
We can talk about any other sort of things that people think might relate to expungement or sealing as well. I think we got through the prostitution stuff so that people understand that there is something unique there that they could pursue. But if there are other general questions, I feel fine answering.
Okay. Now, you did tell us what felonies that could not be expunged. I know you said a violation of order protection, DUI.
It's not necessarily felonies; it's convictions for these crimes.
Okay.
Convictions, right. So that would be, DUI, reckless driving, crimes against animals. Again, most sex crimes, but not prostitution or indecency. Violations of orders for protection, violations for stalking as well. Those would be, and also domestic battery convictions. So any of those that are convicted would not be eligible for this process. Again, if you were found not guilty, you beat the case, it's a different situation entirely. If you were found not guilty, you beat the case, it would be eligible for expungement. But that's a separate thing. These cases are only ineligible if you were found guilty for them. That's correct. And again, my number is 773-488-6600, extension 128. That's 773-488-6600, extension 128. Or you could ask for legal, or you could ask for Ahmed Abbas. Whatever's easier. Because if I'm not in the office, then somebody else can assist you and to discuss what you need to talk about. Yep.
I'm gonna put the number up. I think I got it. All right. You said 773-488-6600, extension 128, right?
That's correct. That's my extension to reach me directly. You can also just ask for legal if you want to just talk to somebody, even if I'm not there.
Okay, I'll put on there, or ask for legal. Ask for legal. Okay. Put that up there. All right. He's open to take any questions outside of hold on. He dropped it earlier. Okay. Yeah. Well, we have new people that's coming in. This is a podcast. Some people come, they leave, they come back for some other reasons. So they can, they might be at work or something like that. So the number is on the screen right there. It's on the screen. So what are some of your common expungement and sealing? The comment that you see?
I think drug possession, it's possession of a controlled substance, which again is different than marijuana. Again, marijuana, if you possess under a certain amount of marijuana, regardless of whether you were convicted or not, that would be eligible for vacating and expungement, because marijuana is no longer illegal in the state of Illinois. Now, if you haven't gone through this process before and it's your first time going up, you don't have to worry about doing a separate process for vacating cannabis. We can do all of that at once. So yeah, most cannabis cases are eligible regardless of conviction or not for expungement because the law changed. Other than that, possession of a controlled substance is another very common one. Traffic cases are pretty common, like driving on a suspended license, driving on a driver's license that has been suspended for over a year. those cases pop up a lot. Not all traffic cases are eligible. They would have to be at least a misdemeanor or higher to be eligible. Some traffic cases you'll see they say petty for charge. Petty would be like you made an improper turn at an intersection or something like that. That doesn't apply for this process. But traffic cases that reach at least a misdemeanor would be eligible. I do see a lot of weapons charges. Unlawful use of a weapon is a pretty common one that I've been seeing a lot of. Battery and assault, those are also pretty common. I would say those are the majority of things that I see. Theft and these sorts of things come up as well, but I would say those ones are the ones that you typically see a lot of.
Now, give us like a time frame, because most people, I work with CVI too. That means community violence interrupters. And when we talk about expungement, they think it's like a 2 week or 1 week process. So give us the process of like a time frame or something.
No,
It's
I'm
not okay.
yeah, I'm glad you asked because I think
Yeah.
this is when I do intake, for example, this is probably the first thing that people ask. How long does the process take? And I'm glad you mentioned it because it's not 1 or 2 weeks. This process can take up to a year. It could take over a year, it could take under a year. There is no guaranteed time frame, and I can explain a little bit as to why that is from our perspective. There are multiple factors that are influencing the timeline. One of the factors is how fast we can file the case. At Teamwork, we file on a first come, first served basis. And so we try to get to things as quickly as we can, but we also are taking our time to make sure that we do things correctly, because we don't just want to get things filed, we want to make sure they're filed correctly so that you don't have to spend any more time than you have to in this process. But the other factor that is important to remember is just how backed up the courts are. I mean, the expungement and sealing call is a heavy call. I mean, I've sat through some very long calls when I go to court, and anybody who has sat through one of those calls before can tell you there's a lot of people that are in this process, not just with our organization, but with the other legal aid organizations. There's a lot of people trying to get their records expunged or sealed. And since we're in the holiday season now, I can tell you that in November and December, the court's docket, the cases that they got to go through, very backed up, really backed up. So it could take a very long time depending on where we're at, or especially where the courts are at with this process. So I would definitely encourage anybody that wants to go through with this process to remember that patience is a virtue, and
Mhm.
that oftentimes the timeline is out of everybody's control.
Yeah, perfect. Because I get that question all the time. So that's why that's why I had to say
I'm
it.
glad you asked. Yeah, that's a great question.
I'm surprised at the people, because they didn't have many questions. I asked all the questions tonight. I'm like, wow. I guess I'm opening my mouth. I like to make the conversation interesting.
Right,
So, and I'm imagine people the question that I asked tonight, that people were thinking it but maybe afraid to say it or
right,
type it in the messenger. So,
right.
is it? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's something that when you talk to somebody one on one, and you have a confidential call, privileged call, the conversation tends to move a bit freer. So I can understand if people are a bit hesitant to discuss on
Right.
live, but still, if you have a question, it's very possible that somebody else has a question, and again, we don't make any judgments, but I understand where people are at.
Right. So when in the office is going to be back open? When it's you guys are off on the break, or
I believe January 5th. I think if just to make sure that everybody's in the office, January 6th is probably a better time for walk-ins. I think I just want to have like that one buffer day in case people are sick and we don't know about it until that day. We just know who's in the office or not. But January 5th is our return date, so I believe that's the next Monday.
okay, all right. I think if, as the minister always say, if all hearts are clear, we can end this session. I mean, is anything that you have to say, counselor? Anything?
Well, just that I had a fantastic evening, great conversation. Let me know if you ever need me back on the call. I'd be more than happy. And we don't have to talk about expungement or anything. We can talk about how my day's going. What
Okay.
my interests are, what's going on. No, I'm just joking.
Uh,
But yeah, thanks again for having me on, Martin. It was a
Yeah,
great
it
time.
wasn't, and again, I apologize for the delay and all that. So it
Oh, no
worked out
worries.
perfect. It worked out fine, and I want to give a shout out to Mark Mitchell, Associate Director, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to present this on my platform, and thank you as well, Counselor, for coming on here. And well, you was on time, I was late,
Oh, no
and I
worries.
appreciate it. I
No
appreciate it.
worries.
We had some technical difficulties we had to work out, but it worked out perfect.
It did.
And I want you guys to, again, the number to Teamwork Englewood is 773-488-6600, extension 128, or you can ask for legal. That's at Teamwork Englewood, 63rd and Halsted in the U.S. Bank building on the second floor. All right. They do take walk-ins from what time?
10:30 to 2, Monday through Thursday.
Monday through. So come on the 6th, all right? Because this is the holiday, and we don't want you to be disappointed. Be prepared to everything is confidential. Be prepared to answer some questions so they'll know. And you don't have to lie about your arrest record because they have to pull it anyway
Right.
and go over it with you. So they're willing to pay for that too. I think it's $17 or $16 or something like that.
Yeah, I believe it's $16. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But we
All
can
right.
also go over all of that with them when they come.
Okay, cool. So I want to thank you. I hope they flood your office. I hope they flood. I heard you on the Martin G live show, and that's why I'm here. I'm calling. All right. So, and again, before we close out, this is for Illinois only, right? Correct.
Correct. Illinois only.
All right. All right. Sorry, people. My other listeners. All right, people, y'all already know what it is. My slogan, here it is. You already know what it is. Live, uncut, unedited. Tell the truth and shame the devil. I love being black.